We are live. We meaning I, the royal we. Melody Edwards. You're probably seeing this on my page, but I never know where these things are going to end up. And today I'm talking about Melody Manager. Again, that's the new brand, the new offer that I have. My guys, it's also 8:30 at night, and so my brain done. But I knew I had to get to this, so bear with me. Melody Manager is a virtual executive assistant agency where we work really hard to provide the systems and support and the right person to be the no, to be the right person to support visionary female entrepreneurs, founders, leaders. Because the goal is I want to make a difference in this world, and I alone cannot make a big difference in this world. But if I provide my strength, which is figuring people out and then matching people and then helping them work well together, then I can expand the influence of hopefully thousands of women and the impact of those women into the world. And then the world will be a better place. Maybe naive. I don't think so, though. That's my purpose. So today, I thought since my brain is so dead, I'm just going to read you the Melody Manager philosophy. And I know it's going to take 7 minutes exactly because I put it into one of the softwares I had and it told me that. But I'm really proud of the philosophy that I have created. Just so you know how I operate, I usually will make voice memos when thoughts come into my head or when I feel the urge to talk about something. Usually it's when I'm in my car and there's no way that I can make a video or that, if I let the information go, it's gone. So usually I'll just click on and make a quick voice memo and talk things out. And then sometimes those things become bigger things that, the more I talk it out, the more I understand things in a way that I wouldn't have otherwise. Then I take those things and I put it into my Melody Melbot, which is my Claude conversation for myself. And it helps me it takes my words, because I'm very particular about wanting this to be me, from my words, from my philosophy, not the robot, not the Melbot. And then it translates it into a easier way to understand and say it. And even when I'm doing that, I'm still having a conversation back and forth with AI because I want it to understand everything you tell AI. It is learning about you better. And I want Claude to understand me better so that it can give me better output. Then I take the output, stick it into a Word doc, and then I edit it again and figure out like what is actually, where is my heart? Where's the philosophy maybe not quite aligned with what I wanted? So it's not like a one and done process. I think that's one thing that AI is good at, is when you're willing to put work into something and then you're willing to take the output and edit that output as well. You're going to get really great results. And so I'm proud of the results that I have. I'm going to read them to you. So this is the Melody Manager Agency support philosophy. And it's somewhat also the support philosophy of HSVA, but I've really honed it in here, because just because I have a support philosophy doesn't mean that people actually want that version of support. So I know that Melody Manager clients, they need this. Support systems should adapt to the person, not the other way around. Most systems taught in business were not built for the way that many founders and executives actually think or live, because the business world is dominated by men. Many of the systems taught in business were built by men for men. Those systems don't always work for many female entrepreneurs, especially creative, visionary, or neurodivergent leaders. The systems assume that you have consistent energy, you're a linear thinker, you have strong executive functioning skills. You just don't know how to you don't know how to organize, but once you have the organization in place, then you will be able to manage it. And most people don't live like that in visionary roles or in higher business roles. And then it also assumes that you have a very low cognitive and emotional load outside of work, meaning that you're not holding on to a lot of other things in life, that you can just run this organizational system and you can do it in all ways. Well, it doesn't work like that in a lot of women's lives. Like today, my son stayed home from school. Surprise. Like all sorts of things happen all the time that we don't really have control over. And I think men in business tend to have a little more control because they have back end support, usually a wife or other support. Um, and I think I'm not saying that women don't have support. What I'm saying when I talk about a melody manager is I want women to truly be themselves, because the more energy we put out into um, keeping ourselves a certain way to be better for other people. There's such a better way to say this, and it's not off my list, but I wanted to say it. The less energy we put out not being ourselves, the more energy we can put into being creative, strategic, better thinkers. And so I really want to be able to match women with other with an assistant and a collaborator who is going to get them, and who's not going to who's going to allow that person to be themselves. um, when women try to force themselves into those systems, they often experience shame, self-doubt, and the belief that something's wrong with them. This is my story. I have tried so many different systems that never worked for my brain. And because so many people in business have lived and died by these systems, I'm trying to think of the ones that come to mind. I'm looking on my bookshelf. I don't see it, but you guys know what I'm talking about, like getting things done, stuff like that. That doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for my lifestyle. It doesn't work for my brain. And I definitely have experienced a sense of failure and shame when I haven't been able to keep to a system, but not understanding it was never made for my brain. So let me just say that again. They often experience shame, self doubt, and belief that something's wrong with them. And at the Melody Manager, we reject that premise. The only system that matters is the one that works. And systems only work when they're designed around the human using them. How we view overwhelm. Overwhelm is a signal, it's not a personal failure. It usually means there are too many decisions, too much responsibility, too much context switching, not enough external containment, boundaries, or buffering. I'll get more into that after. Most of our clients aren't overwhelmed because they're incapable. They're overwhelmed because they've been carrying too much on their own for too long. We don't see this as something being wrong with them. We see it as a mismatch between their role, their workload, and the support that they have. Many of our clients are highly capable, very successful, vision driven, opportunity rich women. They're carrying a large invisible mental and emotional load, meaning families, people who need their support or help. They're taking care of their parents. There's all sorts of things that come up. And they're doing high level strategic thinking while struggling to keep the smaller day to day things together. So, from the outside, they often look very successful. On the inside, they can probably feel pretty fragile. It can feel chaotic, constantly on the edge, which can get comfortable, by the way, but it can also feel like you're a failure. Again, I come back to failure. Women are so hard on themselves, and this is something that I think about a lot. I'm I'm always surprised at the kinds of women who are hard on themselves, that I'm like, why are they like that? They just have it together. And I met a couple women today who I felt like that. But it's like how we are raised to be in this world somehow. So our role at Melody Manager is not to ask them to get organized before they receive help from us. First, we are going to reduce what their load is. We're going to introduce structure that can actually hold up under their real life conditions. And then we're going to introduce support that is going to not require anything from them that is, it's going to require less from them. So they don't have to just, support doesn't become another obligation that they have. Support is actually what brings them the relief. Our role between client and executive assistants, especially in the beginning, the relationship between a client and their executive assistant should not be left to chance. Trust doesn't automatically appear just because two capable people are paired together. Early on, the agency acts as a moderator, a communication translator, a stabilizer, a safety net. And guys, often we act as a business therapist in many respects. We support the client who may struggle to articulate their needs while overwhelmed and may ghost their assistant during those times if we don't have a plan that we make ahead of time. And then we also support their assistant who shouldn't be expected to guess or mind read. We compress the time it takes to build a trusting work relationship by translating the client's thinking style into, honestly, it's a guide that can help guide their assistant. We help their assistant understand how to support them without adding pressure, and how we step in when there's friction before it can cause damage. Neither the client or the assistant should feel like they are failing while learning how to work together. Why just get organized fails? Most advice tells people to try harder, be more disciplined, follow a proven system, or fix their habits first. This approach fails our clients because it assumes the person must change before support can work. Our philosophy is the opposite. The relief that we provide will come first. Then it makes things clearer for them. They can make better decisions, and they can have clearer head, basically. And then clients do not need to be organized to deserve support. They need support so organization can eventually become possible. The role of the Melody Manager. Okay, our role includes, and this kind of goes with what was above, translating how the client thinks into actionable guidance for their assistant, translating what their assistant needs back to the client in a low friction way, reducing misunderstandings before they become trust issues, and then, like I've said 2 times now, compressing the amount of time it takes to build a safe, trusting, functional work relationship. And we hold the weight while that trust is forming. Both the client and their assistant should feel supported, backed up, and not alone in figuring it out. Trust and transparency are non-negotiable. We believe trust is built through clear expectations, transparent accountability, a shared language, clear permissions, early intervention, normalizing friction instead of avoiding it, giving permission to be honest. And that goes for both our client, but it also is for our assistant. Shared understanding of how the work is actually going to happen. And then I already said transparent accountability, but it just removes the guesswork. I'd probably added that a second time. So many clients, especially women, wait too long to ask for support because they feel they should be able to handle it themselves. We actively counter that belief. We don't believe in that. We remind clients that they don't have to carry the weight alone. Support is not a reward for having your shit together, and you won't be abandoned when things get messy. Let's see. We remind their assistants that initiative is welcome, but alignment is what matters most in the beginning, especially. We have them use our systems for project management, keeping master task lists for their client, because that is going to provide a lot of clarity for them, and they won't have to do guessing, which is what people tend to go towards because they don't want to let people down or disappoint them. And then if anything gets escalated, it is not a failure. It is part of building trust. So clients should never feel like they're failing their assistants, and assistants should never feel like they're guessing how to succeed. How do we design support? We don't design it around ideal behavior. So we design support to act as a buffer between the client and their constant demands, reduce decision fatigue, protect their energy and attention, create a communication buffer around, or create a communication buffer, and then help stabilize them during high pressure periods. And their assistant is not there to force change. They are the communication buffer. They are a decision filter for them. They are the person who's going to help protect the focus and the energy that the client should have. And then they are going to be the stabilizing person who is going to help keep things less stressful when the volume of work increases. Personal growth can happen over a period of time, but support should not wait for that growth to begin. Um, and this assistant isn't just completing tasks. I know I've said that a million times, but they are holding the agreed upon boundaries. That's a really hard job. We tried in our first meeting with the client and the assistant, we try to moderate that conversation so that there's agreement about what's going to happen when certain situations come up, because they will come up inevitably. And we want to make sure that everybody is protected. And when you talk about something up front in the beginning, it doesn't become as difficult, or that's the hope at least. It doesn't become as difficult to talk about it when it's actually an issue. Um, and it will help them to support it. It'll help the VA to support better decision making. So what does support look like? Reduced chaos, of course, fewer urgent decisions. We're trying to get our clients to work on important things, less fires, less chaos, less urgency. You know, the Eisenhower matrix, it's the urgent and important. Like, it's great if we can get rid of the urgent and just focus on the important. Moving those really long-term things forward that tend to go to the back burner. We want to make sure that there's clearer ownership, there's a lot less emotional weight, and that a client will feel supported and not feel like they are exposed. So these conversations can be really um, hard. Not they're not hard for me because I do the interviews for these, but sometimes sometimes people don't they've never had these kinds of conversations where we're asking clients questions that are going to lead us to understand how we can get this outcome, like where they feel this way. And also, success is not going to be like a perfectly organized system that is going to contain the person. It's not rigidity. It's not constant productivity. I was telling a friend, Catherine, today, that it's not, there has to be space, right? And your assistant can be the person who can start to see sometimes before we see it in ourselves, because we can be stubborn and we want to keep going. We have ego and we're like, no, I can do this. But I know for myself, sometimes I can get to a point where I am not making any progress, but I am not giving up because I can't um, stand back and realize, oh, this is not productive. And what is now going to take you 4 hours could have been done in 30 minutes if you had just been more well rested. So that's the time when you want an assistant who knows you pretty well to be able to come in and say, hey, I think you need to take a break, or why don't we call it a day? I don't think you're going to get anything done. You're not, you've told me before, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's the kind of thing that we were trying to get established. So that clear thinking and better decisions will follow, and not just stubbornness from perfectionists like me and many of the people I know. So all of this philosophy guides how we interview our clients, how we write our client reports, how we choose and train executive assistants, how we support our clients and our assistants, and how we intervene when friction appears. Here's our promise to our clients. Working with the Melody Manager should not feel like more work. We don't expect clients to have everything figured out, explain themselves perfectly, change who they are, or do extra setup before working with us. That's one of the things that I feel like I don't do a good enough job of explaining. You don't have to have your shit together before you come to us. Like, we are going to work through everything. You don't have to think about what tasks you want the VA to take over. You don't have to think about what you need to organize first. Like, that doesn't have to happen, because that's what keeps you from moving towards the support, so that you can move closer to being in your flow state more often. And that's what creates impact. That really is. Clients should feel less alone, more supported, safer when they're delegating. They should feel excited about working with their assistant, and they should feel hopeful. Now, our promise to our executive assistants is that they're not expected to mind read. We are going to give them the context to understand their client, kind of the translation of what situations can come up. We talk about common client issues that come up in their training. We help them create guardrails for their client through our systems. Um, we're always providing ongoing support. They always have access to us all the time. We train them when they need to learn new things. This is a hard one for people to remember, that we will give them what they need and support them in the way that they need. They don't have to do it alone, just like clients don't have to do it alone. And then we give them access to my brain. If they have a question for me, I will make a video response and send it out to our support club so that they can understand, because I want everybody to learn. I won't say people's names in it, but I want everybody to learn, and I'm always there for more complicated situations as well. We also have a lot of tools and systems that are created to help make sure the assistants can keep structure, because when you're working with somebody who is very unstructured and your job is to keep some semblance of structure, it can feel very overwhelming. We provide the framework to make it so that it doesn't feel overwhelming if they follow the system. And we want our VAs to be empowered to take initiative, to ask smarter questions, to protect their client, especially their client's time, and to build trust as fast as possible. And we want them to know that they're never on their own. So that is my Melody Manager philosophy, support philosophy. I think tomorrow I'm going to talk about some of the questions that we ask in our interviews and why we ask them, because I think it's really important to understand the depth that we the depths that we go into, and the seriousness that we like how serious we take the work that we do, because I want to do the best job possible. I want you to be successful. I want our clients to be able to really truly have an impact and to shoot their vision forward at a much faster speed than they would if they weren't working with executive support. And I coach my clients to it. I'm not perfect. I am not perfect in my executive. I mean, I just want to make clear, like, and I think I've made it clear, the reason why I have this company is because I needed this company. I built the company that I wish had existed when I first started working with Dean, my co-founder, or my former co-founder. And if I had had something like this in place, it would have been so much faster. It was almost like it was almost just luck that we worked out. I've heard from so many women who have tried having assistants before and it just didn't work. And it's because they didn't understand that how much time you have to take on understanding your own brain and then telling other people about it that are going to work with you. And I have figured out that part. I understand how to do it really well. And I make it so that a client doesn't have to do that work. And the cool thing is we give you that information. We show you that, especially in the onboarding, you get to see like yourself from a different view, but it's all a positive view. So that's all for today. I kind of made up for, I didn't say this, but I missed yesterday because my son had a wrestling match and my daughter needed to be picked up from work. And then we all ended up going out to dinner, and it was well worth missing the Melody Manager day of Wednesday. But tomorrow, on Friday, I'm going to talk about questions. And if you have any questions about Melody Manager or Home Service VA, which I still own and operate, okay, I don't operate. I still own and have a team that operates. We would be happy to talk to you about it. And I'll put the link. I should have done this, but I should put the link to talk with us in all of the chats. We're going to go back and we're going to do that. So thank you for your time. I hope this was helpful to hear. how support works, and I am going to go not do this anymore. I'm going to go either zone up. See, look at words, no work. I'm going to zone out because I need that. And then I'm going to go to bed. Have a great night. I have baby time in the morning. I can't wait. I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.